Greetings, everyone. It is GleeCon here again with another episode of Lore of Warcraft. We are now looking through the... there's a small period here. So essentially, the next episode on our Let's Play is called the Red Ridge Mountains. That battle is one of the few in the game that are considered to be canon. Probably not in the way that it's going to appear in the game, but the seizing of the Red Ridge area, because up until this point, really what's happening is the orcs have arrived in the Swamp of Sorrow, and they've been just attacking settlements, setting up their own settlements, and starting to raid the surrounding areas. They're pushing. They pushed down to the south. They got defeated. They're pushing into the human lands, but they don't conquer any other regions until we hit Red Ridge. So all these little things where, we haven't really done much either in terms of the first 4 levels. What we've done for the first 4 levels of the Orc campaign is we did the Swamp of Sorrows. We pushed to the borderlands. We pushed out, I think, Kairos, or it's Kairos, whatever. So like human settlements that are in that area. But really, it's all been confined. And then we went into the Dead Mines to kill Griselda. So the next phase in the game would be for them to go into the Red Ridge Mountains and take that over. So we have a little bit of things that are happening on that aren't directly tied into the war effort. And before we discuss the Red Ridge Mountains, in terms of canon, the priests, we also had them recently enter the war. We have the knights in the war. We actually have mages in the war, even though we haven't got them in the game yet. So we have the warlocks. We have a lot of the things that we've already seen. So stay a while and listen to this one. It's called the Twilight Canticle. Most likely it's going to be related to some treaties that unifies the Twilight's Hammer clan. So let's find out. Stay a while and listen to this one. As the war against Stormwind unfolded in earnest, the Twilight's Hammer clan became a source of irritation for War Chief Blackhand. The clan's warriors were prone to disobey orders, and too many of their number wandered off never to be seen again. Because remember, Cho'gall, he's serving the Horde, but they don't really give a hoot about the Horde. They're really, or the Burning Legion, they want to serve the Void, and they just happen to have the same ends. Blackhand considered making an example of them and erasing the entire clan from existence, much like he made an example of his daughter Griselda. The ogre mage Cho'gall intervened. He had been acting as the Twilight Hammer's de facto leader, and he offered to become their official chieftain in order to keep them in line. The war chief let him try, and he was pleasantly surprised to discover that Cho'gall was able to end their disciplinary problems almost overnight. The Twilight's Hammer became obedient, effective soldiers, and Blackhand put their past mistakes out of his mind. Great. Cho'gall's success lay with his deep understanding of the Twilight's Hammer and their beliefs. They were a clan attuned to dark energies, a people who worshipped the powers of the Void. The moment they'd arrived on Azeroth, they had heard the Void's call louder and clearer than they ever had. There were creatures of shadow here, terrible beings of chaos and entropy, imprisoned in different locations, but still alive and yearning to corrupt Azeroth. So that's another cool thing about the Warcraft universe. There's not just one enemy. There's not just the antagonism between the forces. You've got to deal with these void forces, these old god forces as well. The Twilight's Hammer were hearing the whispers of the ancient old gods. These beings dwelled in enchanted prisons deep below the earth. Discovering them had overwhelmed the Twilight's Hammer, driving the orcs into a state of sheer ecstasy. This was seen by the clan as a sign of destiny. The Twilight's Hammer had found the place where they belonged, the place where they would bring about the Hour of Twilight. The presence of the old gods had a profound impact on Cho'gall. Though he had believed the Void was a powerful force, he had cared little for the Twilight's Hammer's mad ravings about dark gods. Now he had proof of their existence. Cho'gall agreed to help the fanatical clan enact its apocalyptic prophecy, and he brought its members under control with one simple notion. He told them that the Hour of Twilight was not far off, and that the Horde's success would be the best way to bring that moment to fruition. So he's like a cult leader now. Almost, actually, like Twilight's Hammer is like a cult. It is, straight up. Until then, they needed to keep up appearances with Warchief Blackhand and obey their true masters in secret. The clan agreed. The old gods seemed pleased with the Horde's lust for war and destruction, so it was no great sacrifice to proceed with the conquest of the world. As the weeks passed and Cho'gall attuned himself to the old gods, he branded the Twilight's hammer's prophecies onto the skin of pale orcs. He then cut off their flesh to form pages, creating a book that codified teachings about the void. This book, the Twilight Canticle, would become a source of power and motivation for the followers of the old gods for decades. I'm guessing some quest somewhere is going to deal with this disgusting book made from orc skin and flesh. That's gross. Ugh. But yeah, the cult of Twilight Hammer, they're around for ever. I know there's still, there's entire zones that they have in Cataclysm. So up through Cataclysm, definitely a strong force. Pandoria and Draenor, their own side things. Then I don't know if in Legion and BFA, BFA is all about the Void Lord. So yeah, we'll see. Now we have a little sidebar about the old gods. Long ago, the Void Lords launched physical manifestations of their power throughout the universe. These monstrous creatures were known as the Old Gods, and their purpose was to find and corrupt a nascent Titan. Most of the Void Lord's minions failed, but there were a few who almost succeeded. A number of Old Gods landed on ancient Azeroth and began shrouding its sleeping Titan spirit in shadow. They enslaved the world's native elementals and lorded over much of the primordial terrain. Before the Old Gods could finish corrupting Azeroth's world soul, Agramar and other Titans discovered their presence. A cataclysmic war soon raged for control of Azeroth. The Titans and their servants narrowly triumphed, and they shackled the Old Gods in tombs beneath the earth. Yet these entities would not stay contained forever. The Old Gods' influence seeped out into the world, and many creatures fell to their control. Perhaps the most powerful of these servants was the Black Dragon aspect, Deathwing, which we read all about in the War of the Ancients. So that's a recap. That was just, hey, if you didn't read Chronicles 1, here's a recap of what the Old Gods are in a nutshell. Okay, we got another episode in the pipes, 5x5. I thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft.